Fight and Talk back again. And today I'm delighted to be joined once again by Cameron Hardy. Cam, this isn't a fight news, so to speak, but it's a big deal for your next step in your professional career. Can you sort of tell us what's happened over the last week or so?
No, mate. Yes, I'm absolutely buzzing to be signing a 5-fight deal with Cage Warriors. Obviously, for me, like I've watched Cage Warriors for years, and it's probably one of the best stepping stones to UFC, Europe's biggest promotion. There's not much better than out there, to be fair. So I'm absolutely buzzing to be signing with them.
You're signing as well, coming in at the Bantamweight division, a division that you've not fought in before, but I know it's something we've spoke about sort of off camera for the last few months. You were talking about making that decision to drop down. Why have you made that decision, and what do you make of that current Bantamweight division?
The reason I made the decision is because 145 was just like, it was probably too easy. Do you know what I mean? And I would class myself as a small featherweight as well. So I've fought a catch weight of 140 before, made that absolutely fine, coming at 139, no problem whatsoever. So it just makes sense to make 135, and for coming up against the like top competition, I think that would be the best division for me. Like you say, with top competition, the bantamweight division in Cage Warriors I think it's quite stacked with talent, to be fair. And I'm looking forward to joining it and showcasing my skills against the top guys.
I know it's been a little while since you have competed. Of course, we had COVID affecting things massively, but one of the big changes you have made, and you've been fortunate enough to through the support of your sponsors, you've quit your job and you're now training full-time and managing to be a full-time fighter, if you like. How important has that been for your development? And I guess, what does it mean that you have the sponsors there that were willing to put the money into that, especially in such uncertain times?
Oh, honestly, I can't like you say, the way I want to thank them is by getting that world title. I think that would be the only way good enough to say thank you, to be fair. Because I left the Navy and then I was struggling for like a good, decent job. And I ended up doing rope access. So I was constantly working away. So the only training that I was getting in was in commercial gyms whilst working away. So I wasn't getting no MMA in, no kickboxing, no jiu-jitsu, no nothing. I was always just that little idiot who was hitting the bag in the corner every now and then. Do you know what I mean? That's all I could do. So, and then my good friend, who he has a big company called the Luxury Betting Company, and he's basically said, "Look, I'm in a position to help you out now," and he just put it all there for me, and he just sort of stuck it on us and said, "Right, just go for it." And I can't thank him enough for that. And then, like you say, the other few local companies that have jumped on board, I can't thank them enough either. They literally support me all the way, and even through everything that's going on. Like I say, I can't thank them enough. They're doing unbelievable, because, like you say, money in MMA, it's not the best unless you're at the top level. So you have to, like us fighters, have to rely on the people like these sponsors to help us go through. And Darlington only being a little town, I think they've done themselves proud, like, by doing what they're doing.
You are back home now as well, back in the northeast. Now you're fighting out of SBG Bishop Auckland under UFC bantamweight Davey Grant.
Yeah.
Of course, you were fortunate enough to go out and visit Fight Island for Davey's first fight over there. What was that experience like for you? And what's it been like training with Davey? And of course, with Davey being a bantamweight as well, how much does that help you judge where you're at in comparison to these top guys with Davey being in the UFC?
Yeah, like I say, it's perfect. Like, obviously, everyone, like, you look up to your coach, don't you? Like, you look up to Davey. I looked up to my old coach, everything like that. But with him being in UFC as well, like, you saw how hard he's training, and like, you put it into comparison how hard you need it is. Like, he's just like a very good model. Do you know what I mean? And then with him being bantamweight, that means we're perfect training partners for each other. One's not too heavy for the other. Everything down to like helping with diet, everything like that. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely perfect. And that UFC Fight Island experience, that was just something else. That it was a nightmare for me, right? Because I was still doing my rope access. So I've went there, I've come back on the absolute highest of highs. And then I think I went away and done, I think it was 20 odd 10-hour shifts on the bounce, had a weekend off, and then done like 28 12-hour shifts on the bounce. So I've come being absolutely buzzing from FC, thinking, right, get me back in that cage and stuff like that, to grafting me little ass off. So it was an absolute nightmare. But like you say, like even just going there and experiencing it and just realizing like how well the UFC looks after you and like everything like that, it just makes you want it that little bit more.
What was it like the experience cornering Davey? Because I know due to other fights happening and whatnot, I guess his usual corner team weren't available to go. So I believe it was you and
Yeah,
Luke Penberthy, who's another one of Davey's
yeah,
students out there.
yeah.
I know you've obviously cornered lads from your old gym that were like up and coming, but what was that like for you to be in the corner and having to give your coach advice on what he should be doing in like one of the biggest
I'm not
fights?
joking, you right. I was shitting myself more than I would for any of my fights, any than my first fight, everything, because I'm thinking, shit, like what if I give the wrong advice? What if I this? What if I that? But to be fair, like once we like went through and went with it, we were constantly, because of everything that was going on, he couldn't really train that much elsewhere anyway. So I'd pretty much been there for like a little bit of it. Because obviously I was still working away, but it was like a week or two before, and we were just constantly going through things that we wanted to do. Just like you say, you would with your coach. So we knew what he wanted, knew what he wanted to do, like say pads and stuff. So it wasn't too bad once we were actually in there. Like you say, like even the cameras being on you, then like the mic getting put on me, I was like, oh my God, what if I say something wrong here? And like the commentators slate me for it or something. Do you know what I mean? But nah, like it was unreal. And like you say, when we got in there, it was sound, and he put on an unbelievable performance. I mean, he put the shit up me when he got his jaw broke. Like when got back to the corner, I don't think he listened to a word I said. I don't think he listened anyway, because
It
like
was
all he could think about was like getting his like teeth back together. He said. So he was listening to like things in the fight, but at the end of the day, he's your coach as well. Like he knew what he was doing. Davey could go in there with 3 kids in his corner and still be sound.
Of course, the UFC did manage to put on loads of shows, but Cage Warriors, I think for me personally, really pulled it out of the bag last year with their trilogy shows behind closed doors, making sure they can keep their fighters active. I know Grimm's came out this year and said that, look, he'd love to do 4 trilogies as well as 4 standalone shows, like UK based. How much of that played a part in you signing with Cage Warriors, seeing the way that they treat their athletes over this last year, making sure people can stay active and make sure ultimately that these fighters can still continue to grow and develop in the cage?
Oh, it's massive, man. Like it's unbelievable. Even being like just a fan of MMA, seeing what he's doing, like you appreciate what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? Like being a fighter, even if like I wasn't a fighter, like just for what he's doing and what he's putting on, is like absolutely unbelievable. For anyone to go above and beyond with in a like a global pandemic, it's just mad, isn't it? So it is mad, and it just goes to show how good of a show and how good everyone is at Cage Warriors. To be fair.
I know we briefly touched on it there before the division, but if you really look at it, you've got, of course, Jack Cartwright. You've got Maya in there as well. You've got Wilson up and coming. You've got some really big names. So I know you're not a one to call anybody out or anything, but where do you, if you sit back and look at that division, where do you see yourself entering that division at?
To be fair, I'd like to think I'm near the top end. 8 pro fights. Uh, I'd like to say I'm definitely near the top. My skill set's definitely near the top. Uh, but like you said, that there's a lot of guys who are at the top end in Cage Warriors as well, and there's going to be plenty of good tests, and I'm more than looking forward to it. If you were to ask me a few months ago about getting tested in Cage Warriors, I'd have been like a bit like whoa, because I just come back to training. I had more injuries than sense. My physio John Flynn, he sorted us right out, and just as we've got back from Christmas and I've proper knuckled down and stuff, I'm starting to feel really good now. Really good with the way my training is, the training partners that I'm getting, the sort of coaching that I'm getting from different people and stuff as well. I'm looking forward to really testing myself at the top.
For you as well, I mean, I know you fought on a couple of really big shows, but I mean, Cage Warriors for you is this first, I guess, massive step up to one of these major promotions in Europe.
Yeah.
For fight fans who maybe haven't seen a Cameron Hardy fight before, what can they expect to see from you? How would you describe yourself as a mixed martial artist?
If I was to keep it nice and short, I'd think it is like kill or be killed. I've had 8 fights. I think one of them's went to points. So I think, what is it, 5 first round finishes. The one that did go to points, everyone was calling it like a fight of the night. So, like you say, I do like to think like I do bring the entertainment side of it, but I just throw myself in there and just like going for it. Because I don't want to mess around in that cage. We don't get paid for overtime, do you? Do you know what I mean? You just want to go in there, get the job done.
I'm not sure how much you can and can't say here, so obviously don't say anything that you can't. But when can fight fans expect to see you? Of course, we've got a trilogy show coming up in March. Is that something you'd be looking at, or will be looking a little bit further down the line for your Cage Warriors debut?
We did get offered March, but obviously Davey fights on March the 13th, which is the weekend before. So I'm going to Vegas with him. I mean, obviously, I would sack Vegas off if it meant having to fight and stuff like that. But then he's got like his coaches, so that doesn't really leave me with like a proper head coach for like the last couple of weeks. Then going in, or you could go to Vegas, be there, but the fights focused on Davey. I wouldn't expect them to be focused. It's hard, you know what I mean. That focus would be on, even though I'm fighting a couple of days later. It just makes sense to sort of not take that fight in March to then go to whenever the next card is after that, because it's like you say, it's either go to Vegas, maybe not get the best of training in because your coach is fighting, or train without a coach and probably two of the most important weeks leading up to your fight. So hopefully the next one.
Finally, Cam, for you, I know you've been grinding at this for years and years now, a few different gyms, loads of different promotions. When it does get to that day and you do pull on them yellow gloves and make it walk in that Cage Warriors cage, what will that mean to you in terms of where you're at your professional game?
Mate, you know, it's like I used to dream about like buzzing to be a fighter. Then it was buzzing to turn pro. Now, like you say, putting on them yellow gloves, it's like a thing for Cage Warriors, isn't it? Like the yellow gloves, like just like putting on them yellow gloves, I'll just be like, I'm constantly just like setting just little goals for myself, and just constantly trying to reach them goals. Like I say, them goals near the top now. So I just want to go out there, go and smash that goal, and then aim for goals ahead of that as well. So it does mean a lot. Like you say, with everything that's going on, with the way the sponsors are supporting me and stuff, it's just pushing me even more, pushing me training hard, just giving me that extra kick up the arse.
We'll go one more. If we have this interview again to this day in exactly 12 months' time, where do you see yourself in that Cage Warriors division?
12 months' time, I reckon I'll definitely be knocking on the door of a world title, knocking on the door of a world champ.
Spot on. Cam, thanks very much for your time today, mate.
Spot on. Cheers, Jake. Nice one.